Thar, and I'm back again with another video today. Today I wanted to talk to you about some stone magic because this is just one of my favorite topics. I have been collecting and studying stones since I was probably like 7 or 8. This is one of the first things that my mother started me on when she began teaching me, and like honestly I think it's one of the things that children especially get the most excited about. Stones are kind of, I mean, for one, they're pretty. There's a lot of shapes and geometry, lots of colors, lots of different stones to identify. It's something that we learn in school as well, like somewhere around the 2nd and 3rd grade. And it's also very sciencey. Like stones are a lot of fun, right? So there's a lot of jewelry that happens. They're fun to collect. They're easy for kids to learn. They're easy for adults to learn. They're pretty exciting, and they're a very more passive way to work with energy and magic. So they're one of my favorite ways to work with energy and work with magic, and one of my favorite topics to discuss. So a lot of times if you come to me and you want to talk about different spells and doing energy work, I'm always going to be like, and by the way, did you try rose quartz? Because like, yeah, I always have a stone for everything. Yeah, stones are just amazing and awesome, and I haven't talked about them on my channel much. If you go to my website, there's a lot of information there about it. And in fact, I just released a ebook on my website that you can sign up to get that is about stone magic, and it talks about things like cleansing stones, how to use them, where to put them on your body, how to charge them, and it includes a lot of information on different stones for different purposes. So if you want to go to my website, there will be a link in the description below and you can check that out. But we're going to talk about some of those things today too. I will try to keep it short, but like I said, it's a topic that I get really excited about, so you can expect at least my usual amount of tangenting today. So I will try to stay on topic, but no promises. So I'm going to skip right over the whole cleansing and charging your stones thing, because I'm just going to assume from the get-go that we haven't talked about stones before, and so let's talk about why you want to use stone. As I mentioned already, they're kind of a great passive way to start working with energy and magic, right? And the reason why they are a more passive way of doing that is because stones have in them their own energy. So when people say like rose quartz is great for love, and amethyst is great for intuitive abilities, and obsidian is great for protection, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the inherent properties of stones and gemstones. Now, it's important to keep in mind, and a lot of people forget, but the precious and semi-precious gemstones that we like to use in jewelries are not the only stones that matter. The stones that you find outside in the wild are also great. Those are broken into different stone types as well. Like you have your limestones, and you have your sandstones, and you have like hagstones, and you have conglomerates and things like that, and those all have their own properties as well, but we're not going to be talking about those today because frankly they're not as popular. So we're going to talk about the popular ones today, and then later on we're going to talk about why I hate like rocks and weeds and how those are useless terms, and we really need to be honoring these things a little bit more. But for today we are going to talk about the more classic semi-precious and precious stones and crystals instead. But yes, so the reason why these gemstones have their own properties is that they have their own chemical and molecular structure. And when I talk about chemical structure, I'm talking about the chemicals that go into their creation. So for instance, as an example, hematite is almost entirely all iron. And when I talk about molecular structure, I'm talking about the way the actual molecules are arranged. So the reason why quartz has its like classic crystal appearance, let me just grab one off my desk here. So the reason quartz has its classic stereotypical appearance here is because of the way the molecules actually arrange themselves in relation to each other. That molecular structure causes this faceted form to develop. So between the way the molecules form together and the chemicals that go into the creation of the stone or crystal, that crystal then has its own special energy. On top of that, those chemicals and molecular structures occur the way they do because of the environment they develop in. So you have the chemicals, the molecules, and the environment contributing to the energy that gemstones and crystals then carry with them through the length of their lives, which is great. So that means you can take that energy that is encased in this object and then just bring it into your life to affect your energy, you being a more organic organism and more susceptible to the energy moving around you. So it's a relatively simple thing. And if you think I'm full of crap, that is fine, but keep in mind there are quartz crystals in your cell phone, your computers, your watches. So the idea that crystals can actually conduct and affect energy is not that crazy. So, moving on. Various cultures all over the world, various ancient cultures have ascribed different properties to different stones, and those properties are shockingly consistent. And so we've kind of maintained that practice in the New Age metaphysical spiritual communities today. And so so a lot of times you'll find that when you look up crystal meanings or gemstone meanings on the internet, there are some deviations, but there also are some similarities. These deviations can occur because every once in a while you'll find that when you interact with a particular stone, you will not react to it the same way that other people do. And that is not abnormal. I mean, it's not mainstream. It's not the average. But it's also not that weird because we are all unique, individual, organic entities. And so our personal energy is unique. And so sometimes, even though something has like a standard or typical energy signature, our personal selves are going to interact with it in a different way that's not predictable. So whatever you read or hear anywhere, like, take it with a grain of salt and know that results may vary. So that's just a true fact. So the easiest way to use stones, of course, is to put them on or near your body. Now we can get really, really specific about it and place stones and gemstones in different places on our bodies to have different effects. So if you want to affect your different chakras in different ways, you would of course place those stones near those chakras for different effects. Your dominant hand, like your dominant side, so if you're like right-handed, that would be your right side. If you're left-handed, that would be your left side, with some exceptions. Is usually considered your active side, while the opposite side is considered your receiving side. So if you want to affect the energy that you're receiving, you would place that stone on your off side, and if you want to affect the energy you're sending out into the world, you would put it on your dominant side. So there are considerations you can take if you want to, but for general purposes, you can just be like, I'm putting it in my pocket and that's fine. So it can be as simple or as complicated as you want to make it. I like complicated, but that's me. I like to get as specific as possible with my purposes, but sometimes you just got to do what works, and that's just the way we're going to do it, right? So this variance in the degrees of complication and also the ability to just like get stuff done really makes this a very accessible way of starting to work with energy. Plus, stones are great for just practicing or heightening your own sensitivity to energy in the first place. So yes, they're fantastic. And like I said, you can put them in your pockets, you can tuck them in your bra, like those of us who don't get to have pockets very often. We've used the bra trick a lot. Jewelry is one of the most popular ways to to implement stones. As you can see, I have a malachite here and a sapphire here. So jewelry is like a really popular way to implement gemstones as well. It's also pretty mainstream. Nobody's going to be like shocked or weirded out that you're doing it. But sometimes you'll also see people wearing charm bags as well with gemstones in them. Yeah, like for me, you may have noticed in my videos, I have little beads in my hair. That's how I like to implement some of them. Also, I think it looks cute. There's a lot of different ways to do it, some that are more overt and some that are more covert. Another advantage to working with stones is that you can be really slick about it. Again, like I said, you can slip them in your pocket, or you can slip them in your bras, or, you know, wear like a necklace under your shirt or something and be really sly about it. So yeah, so there's a lot of ways to do it. If you have any more specific questions, or if you want me to dive more deeply into this topic, because I know I've already rambled on for like 11 minutes already, please let me know in the comments below, because I am more than happy to expound on any of these ideas. But for now, I want to jump in and talk about particular stones that you can use, because that's where the real juice is, right? So let's talk about specifically a hot topic I always get asked about, and that is abundance. By abundance, I mean money. Okay? So if you want to bring more abundance into your life, if you want to get raises at work, if you want to get promotions, if you want to see gifts come in, if you want to happen upon money, like just flowing through life and coming into you, what kind of stones can you use for that, right? So for this, I recommend, oh look, we have Nora now. For this, I recommend stones like aventurine, and I'll try to put bigger pictures around here for you in editing. So we have aventurine. Pyrite, of course, is a huge favorite. Also known as fool's gold, not actual gold, but fool's gold. Those are great just for like straight up abundance, like get the money, right? And then we have stones like tiger's eye. There's my Nora again. So we have tiger's eye, which is a beautiful stone. This stone helps create opportunities and allows you to recognize those opportunities when they happen, which is really important as well. Then we have stones like citron. Citron also brings in abundance, but also good fortune and good luck, which we also really need if we want to have abundance in our lives. Now, one note that I want to make here as well, right? Because gemstones and your precious and semi-precious stones can be really expensive, especially if you're looking to get like giant honking pieces. So two things I recommend to keep your price down, like especially if we're looking for abundance, right? Like we don't have all that much money. You can get little tumbled stones like this guy. You know, they're kind of, they've been tossed through a tumbler, so they're not going to be perfectly round. Oop, my lighting is so bad. So you can get little tumbled stones like this guy. For something like, they're usually like, I don't know, 50 cents to a few bucks, right? Depending on where you go. As much as I love our local New Age stores and spirituality stores, they tend to overcharge on the crystals. I love to support local, but when hard times are hard, a great place to go is like a children's science store. I used to get these all the time in the mall at like Natural Wonders, if those are still around at all, and they would be like 25 cents. So that's what I recommend. Also, an untumbled stone, kind of like this guy. You can, let me see if I can get close to my lens there. No, that's not helpful. An untumbled stone, so he looks a little bit more jagged. He's not as smooth to the touch. This is going to be cheaper than a tumbled stone. So if you do go to your New Age store, check out the non-tumbled stones as well, because a lot of times these are going to be less expensive for you. That's going to be especially relevant because we're also going to talk about garnets. These guys, when they're tumbled or if they're finished and faceted, tend to be a lot more expensive. But they have these really cool geometric shapes, when they form naturally in the wild. And so if you get them untumbled, they're a lot less expensive and a lot more affordable, and they're also like freaking cool. So yay science and like natural formations. And garnets also bring like more energy and more opportunity and good fortune to you, so they're great for abundance as well. And then emerald brings you great favor, good fortune, and also money and abundance and good growth as well. And this is a raw emerald as well. So emeralds especially are much cheaper in the raw instead of tumbled. So personally, I only have emeralds that are either in jewelry already or raw like this. So raw emerald, which is also really cool because I like the natural formations as well. So those are some recommendations, but not all of them, for stones for abundance. Now next we're going to talk about the stones that are going to support you in your spiritual or your psychic growth. So talking about stones for spiritual and psychic growth, the most popular one out there is amethyst, right? So you'll see amethyst pretty much everywhere in every kind of like psychic, intuitive growth thing whatsoever. And this is that deep purple stone that you see all over the place. You can get them tumbled, you can get them raw, and you can get them in these little geode clusters as well. So amethyst is just it's super great, and it's also super handy. Amethyst can also be used to cleanse your gemstones as well, which is something that we're not talking about today, but I do talk about it in the free guide that I have on my website. So I do recommend getting several of those clusters, and they're super affordable, so definitely check that out. And then another one that I recommend a lot is Labradorite. Now you're probably not gonna be able to see, you can see it a little bit on my video, but not great. I'll put a picture up here for you as well. Labradorite is really cool. It's a like a weird smoky blue stone that has these bright blue flashes inside. They got really trendy a couple years ago, but they're a really neat stone. That's great for spiritual support as well. The blue stones you find help clear your energy and your senses, and they allow you to see the world and everything in the universe and reality in a clearer, more true way, and that definitely helps on the spiritual and psychic side of things. And Labradorite especially focuses on the spirit and the spiritual side, so definitely good for that psychic support. Celestite helps increase and clear your energy. It's another blue stone, so we're also talking about more truth here. And Moonstone, of course, has like this, it's this milky, weird, like pale colored stone with a little bit of flash or fiber in it as well. And that's really great for connecting to your intuition and learning to listen to yourself as well. And then I always super recommend my black stones, right? Because staying grounded when you're doing spiritual work and also keeping negative energy away from you is really important, especially if you're more sensitive and especially as you develop that sensitivity. So here are some examples of obsidian and jet as well. This is the snowflake obsidian. Here is jet. Jet is it's kind of weird to learn to identify your black stones. And then like we find these super marketed like arrowhead obsidian things. They're super cheap. They're obsidian, so they work. They're culturally appropriative, but if you need cheap obsidian, they're a way to go. A lot of times you can also find them in like natural history museums. So that is super handy. And like I said, those black stones will help keep you grounded and in touch with reality. It's really tempting when you're doing that spiritual work to kind of be like, physical reality, who cares? I'm just gonna be spiritual all the time. But that's a bad idea. If you lose track of your body, things are gonna go, they're gonna go badly really fast. So the idea is to strike a balance between your more spiritual life and aspects and your more physical existence. And the idea is to kind of integrate those more instead of like bouncing back and forth and thinking of them as opposites. Just my advice to you. Lastly, and this is probably what everyone is really most interested in, we're going to talk about love. Now, I'm going to really just focus on 3 different stones here. So, the very first stone I recommend to everyone who is looking for love is going to be rose quartz. Like, absolutely, hands down. Like, there's a lot of other pink stones that people recommend, like chrysocolla and kunzite and things like that. But for me, it's always going to be rose quartz. 1, because it's cheap. 2, because it's quartz. And 3, because we just need all the loves. Now, some of those other stones are going to be like looking for partnerships and good exchange of energy and things like that. And those are also nice for a relationship as well. But what we find, or what I find, is that, for one, rose quartz doesn't just help with loving other people. It helps with loving everything and everyone. So that includes your family, your friends, yourself, and your romantic partner. So if you tend to have issues in any of those areas, it's going to muck up your romantic relationship. So we're just going to fix them all, like with that one stone. And that is how rose quartz really, really helps us out here. So you can get rose quartz in the raw. We love us some raw rose quartz. It's a beautiful stone. You can get them carved. Like, rose quartz is so popular that it's pretty easy to find anywhere you can shop for stones at. You're gonna find them at like your generic jewelry store. You can get it pretty much anywhere. Like, you can go, I hate to say it, but like, you can go to Walmart and get yourself some rose quartz jewelry. Super, super popular stone, okay? And so I really recommend, like, if you're looking for love of any kind, start with the rose quartz. You are not going to go wrong with it at all, and it's going to just improve all areas of your life. The next one that I really want to talk about is that moonstone that we were talking about earlier. Remember? It helps you get in touch with your intuition, but it also helps you get in touch with your more feminine qualities. And by feminine qualities, I'm not tying this specifically to biological gender, but I'm talking about those qualities that society has taught us is genderized as feminine. So I'm talking about compassion, I'm talking about nurturing, I'm talking about caring for other people. These are all things that you need in a relationship in order for it to be healthy, not just for, you know, the more femme person in the relationship, but for both people in the relationship. If you're not caring and compassionate and nurturing to your other person, then this relationship is not going to be healthy. So So Moonstone is going to be your friend if you want that romance to work. So bringing in the romance and keeping it healthy, Moonstone is your friend. And then, of course, I can't talk about romance without talking about emerald again, right? Because emerald, like, diamonds got really popular for weddings and engagements and stuff, right? Because diamonds are expensive, and we like to tie wealth with marriage. That's very much a modern concept. But in the days of the Celts, and especially in Ireland, emerald was associated with nature and fertility and life. And so it became the pledge stone that was associated with love and romance forever, because here we were talking about eternity and fertility and growth and passion. And so emerald became the stone of marriage and romance in Ireland. Not just Ireland, but other places as well. It was associated with romance in ancient Egypt as well. And so a lot of times, if you go shopping for claddagh rings, you will find them with emeralds in them, and it is considered traditional to have emeralds in your wedding and engagement rings in Ireland. So emerald is my favorite stone, so how could I not put it in this video, right? So emerald is also really, really healthy if you want to see your romance grow, if you want to see that romance be fertile and sprout things like a new household or children or just personal growth in general. Like fertility doesn't have to be just children, but it absolutely can be. So emerald is going to be your friend when it comes to love as well, especially if you want that love to last forever and ever and ever instead of like summer flings. So those are my 3 most highly recommended stones for love that I'm going to include in this YouTube video. But again, the freebie on my website has a longer list for you if you want to like shop around and see what else is available. As it is though, I have rambled on for almost half an hour and I hate making really long videos like this, so I am going to kind of wrap it up here. But absolutely, if you have any questions or if you want me to expound on any of the topics that I've mentioned in this video, please let me know and I will make more videos on those topics. I just, I tend to geek out over stones and I don't want to chase you guys away. That's what it's really about. So, but I would love to geek out more about it because, like I said, stones are a huge passion of mine. I think they're one of the easiest ways to work with our energy. And I know I mentioned earlier that they're a really passive way to work with energy, but for me, that passivity is really important, not just for people who don't know how to work with energy yet, but that's also really important for when you're tired, when you're not feeling well, or when you're in a really hard spot. Like there's a lot of times in life where like you need to get over the hump, but you, for whatever reason, just can't get yourself there. And so like grabbing a helpful stone to give you that little boost, no matter where you are on your evolution, is just like the common sense thing to do. So how could I not love them, right? So I hope that you found this video helpful. And if you did, I gotta ask you the YouTube things. Give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye.